Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate you allowing me to be here with you today, as well as Ranking Member Rosendale. And thanks also to your committee for your hard work on this very important issue. And Dr. Adiram, it's a pleasure to see you again. Just recently, as you heard earlier, Ranking Member Boston and I, we had the pleasure of visiting the VA facilities both in Richland, in my district, and in Walla Walla at the medical center there. As a guest of Mr. Keller, we were able to meet with dozens of nurses, of doctors, staff members from schedulers to pharmacists, radiologists, you name it. We met with dozens of people there. And let me tell you, to a person, they're all committed to providing the best care possible for our veterans, and that certainly was a good thing to hear. But what we also heard from all of them, the thing that we most often heard was that the Cerner training, and these are their words, not mine, is completely ineffective. If and when employees could get into the right training session that fit their particular responsibilities and jobs, the instructors didn't know much about the system that they were trying to demonstrate. We know from the reports that we've heard through OIG that the VA's trying to been evaluating the flaws in the training for, at least a year, and ordering changes. But it doesn't seem like that those changes have made any significant improvements, at least not the folks that are on the ground trying to make this all work. So if you're continued to, or if you're committed to continuing this project, and it sounds like you are, I'm not sure everyone is, but it sounds like you are, even in the face of the harm that we have documented that veterans have been placed in harm's way in at least over 150 instances. Is the VA prepared to scrap the entire training concept and literally start over? Could you give me a response to that?
Sure, and thank you for that question. Training has been a frustration for us. This is why we've done several things. One, at the end of April, we issued a letter of concern to Cerner with documentation where they were falling short of our expectations, and you described some of them, trainers who didn't know the subject, trainers that didn't show up, and so on. So that is a frustration for very busy medical professionals to take the time to train and to have an experience that's not good. The second thing that I did was I signed up for training. So I've gone through most of the training. I haven't done the 300, but I've done the computer-based training. They're not bad. Actually, they're pretty good. I prefer online training. But what we need to do clearly is to look at how our medical professionals and other medical personnel want to learn the system. It's more than just training. And so this is why with our new deployment strategies, we have added a good amount of change management type strategies, including ample on-the-ground support during go live at the elbow to help personnel as they're learning the system, because DoD, actually, that was one of their biggest lessons learned, was that having good at-the-elbow support is very helpful as people are learning the system. The other things we've done with training is that we've insisted with Cerner that they hire an independent consultant to review the training and bring us recommendations for how to do this better.
I have one more question.
Sure, I'm sorry.
And I appreciate you taking the training yourself. I was going to ask you that, but recently, in fact, just yesterday, Congresswoman Morris Rogers and I sent you a letter highlighting the difficult position that Mr. Keller and Dr. Fisher have been put in. They either have to find money to internally hire additional staff to cope with the Cerner impacts or treat fewer patients. It's one or the other. In fact, since you probably haven't had a chance to see the letter we just sent, the facilities have been forced to either significantly increase staffing to do the same amount of work or reduce the appointment volumes and manage significant backlogs. The medical centers that added permanent on-site staff were forced to do so at their own expense. The centers in our district should not have to choose between staffing up to continue safely caring for veterans and blowing a hole in their budgets forcing painful cuts in the future. More importantly, our veterans' care should never be compromised. And then it goes on to say, whatever is ultimately decided about the fate of the program, our medical centers cannot be left behind. They've been forced into a deeply flawed system and are struggling to address the problems that our veterans face. Will you be making our centers whole because of the position that you put them in?
Me personally, from the program standpoint, it's a VA issue and VHA, and we look forward to getting that letter and answering it as completely as possible, and we'll do that together with VHA and VA leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry I went over my time, but I appreciate the opportunity.